everyone, I am going to show you how I make my sweet pumpkin squash soup. This is one of my very favorite recipes to make. I can't wait for the grocery stores to get pumpkins in the fall so I can start making my pumpkin recipes. And let me get started and show you what the ingredients first. Now this is a sweet pumpkin. You can use a regular pumpkin if you want. I usually do. It's just I didn't have the freezer room right now for a great big pumpkin because you don't want to use all of the great big pumpkin. I am going to use about 3/4 of this, depending on how much is in there when I open it up. This is an acorn squash. I'm going to use about half that, and this is a butternut squash, and I will probably use a little bit more than 1/4 of it. I'm not real sure yet. I don't want a huge bunch of this time around, so I'm not quite sure how much I'm going to use yet. These are sweet potatoes, and these are baby carrots. There's 2 cups of baby carrots here. I might only use a cup. Again, this is one of those recipes where you can just mix it and match it, and just according to your tastes. So I think I have too many carrots there, so I'll probably only use a cup. This is chicken broth. This is almond milk. This is heavy whipping cream, and we have vanilla, ground cloves, ground nutmeg, allspice, cinnamon. I have brown sugar and sour cream. And I might add another chicken broth. Again, this is kind of just how much of these 3 ingredients back here that I'm going to have. And the first thing Now one thing I did want to tell you was the sweet potatoes and the carrots. If you don't like carrots or you don't like sweet potatoes, you can substitute that for an apple. I will not be doing that in this recipe. It's just something I wanted to show you. The almond milk, if you drink regular milk and you don't want to use almond milk, you're more than welcome to use regular milk. I just prefer the almond milk, and it is a little sweeter. The first thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is, now here's another variation of this recipe. These squashes back here and the sweet potatoes and the carrots. You can either boil all these, you can bake all of them, or you can do a combination. It doesn't matter as long as all those ingredients right through there get softened so you can puree them. So what I am going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and boil my carrots. But the squashes I'm going to go ahead and bake, and the sweet potatoes I'm going to bake if I have room, but if I don't, I'm going to boil them. So that's just to show you that it doesn't really matter as long as it gets soft. So here is my pumpkin, and when you go to buy these, you want them firm, bright colored. You want them free from any kind of cuts or nicks or anything like that, and bruising. If they're starting to get light colored and feel soft at certain spots, your pumpkin's probably not going to be very good. So you want to make sure it's nice and firm and bright. This is a sweet pumpkin, so it has a sweet flavor, and it's really good for pies and making a pumpkin cheesecake and my sweet soup. So that's why this is best. If you get it like a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, they have stringier, watery flesh, and so that's why they're better used for decorations. But this is gonna be it. So I'll show it to you when it's cut up. Here it is cut up. I always, just like when you're gonna carve a jack-o'-lantern, I always cut like a hole on top and then I cut it in half. It just makes it easier that way. So here's what it looks like inside. Nice big seeds to roast. So here are the seeds outside my pumpkin. Now, the strings inside, I don't worry a whole lot about that. It's so much easier to separate that from the pumpkin meat after it's cooked. So I do take out, as much as will come, but I don't strain myself over it. And then here are the seeds. And here's my pumpkin in the pan. I put them upside down to keep them from drying out, and put some water in the bottom of it, and that helps too. So there they are. Okay, so here's the pumpkin that I baked. And as you can see, it's really soft, and that skin's gonna come right off. Look at this. And then you just want to scrape just a little bit of that, but it's super easy to skin that down. So here's my pumpkin. I put it in my Ninja. I highly recommend these. These are wonderful. I use mine weekly, And you do not have to do this if you don't want to. You can use a potato masher or fork. I'm just doing this to give it a little bit of a smoother taste when it's finished. I use the spatula to dig out the pulp from the pumpkin. There we go. So here's the pumpkin pureed, and as you can see, it has a really nice smooth texture, just like the canned store-bought. And again, you do not have to use this step. I'm just making a smoother soup this time. Most people that eat this do like it smoother. I actually kind of like the chunks, but most of the time I don't do this, and especially if it's just for me. But I'm going to take some of this out for my pumpkin spice lattes and use the rest for my soup. Alright, so I'm about to puree my acorn squash and my butternut squash, and I just wanted to show you can use a spatula to scrape out that meat really easily, and I even saved the top part because it just scraped right out of there, and then you're not wasting anything. So I wanted to show you that. So here I have my sweet potatoes and my carrots ready to be pureed, and I wanted to show you that the sweet potatoes are really easy to peel once they're cooked, and I just used a fork to take off that skin, so they're not real hard at all. And one thing I did want to add, if you do this process of pureeing everything, and you find that the sweet potatoes and the carrots are your blender, your processor, or whatever you're using is having a hard time breaking them up, you can put some with the pumpkin when you're doing the pumpkin, or while you're doing this step, you can also add your heavy whipping cream or perhaps the chicken broth that you're going to use, and the extra liquid will help break that up and not tax your engine on your blender or whatever you're using to puree. Okay, so everything I pureed is in the I put in this crock pot. You do not have to make it in the crock pot. You can make it on the stove, in a soup pot, Dutch oven, whatever you're choosing. I'm just going to go ahead and do it in the crock pot this time. I am going to add about 29 ounces of chicken broth for now. I might add more. I'm going to add 2 cups of whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of vanilla, and a tablespoon of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon of allspice and cloves, and then a 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. Here's what that looks like all stirred up. I am going to leave it on high for about an hour, and then I'm going to turn it on low, and I'll probably cook it for about 3 hours like that. So here's the soup after an hour. I did go ahead and add another can of chicken broth, and to make it just a little smoother, it was a little thick. I like it this thick, so I won't add any more. But you can see it's not as thick as it was when I first started it. So I'll let this sit for another probably 2 or 3 hours, and then eat some. So here's what this looks like when it's all done. You can see that it's darker. It looks similar to a pumpkin pie. Not quite as dark. Now, if you don't like it